see. Go ahead.
Our mission, Helping Parents Heal, is a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting parents whose children have passed. Through support and resources offered, we aspire to help individuals become shining light parents, meaning a shift from a state of emotional heaviness to one of hopefulness and greater peace of mind. Helping Parents Heal goes a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and afterlife evidence in a non-dogmatic way. Helping Parents Heal affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non-religious background, and encourage open dialogue. Attendance at this meeting is voluntary. We hope that participants will learn from and share with each other. Discussions here are confidential and not designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. Zoom meetings run by leadership are not confidential. These meetings typically feature guest presenters and are posted on YouTube so that affiliate members worldwide can watch and benefit. Neither type of Helping Parents Heal meeting is designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers, allowing parents to learn about many possible ways to heal. This includes presenters covering progressive topics such as afterlife evidence and connecting with our children who have passed. The views expressed by our guest speakers may or may not reflect the opinions of Helping Parents Heal leaders and members, so we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. Welcome, everyone. You're in for a real treat this evening, and thank you, Suzanne, for being here.
Yes, thank you, Suzanne, for being here. We're so thrilled to have you. And I also just wanted to tell people, if you'd like to say who you are, where you're from, if you're an affiliate leader, board member, caring listener, to put it in the chat box, that would be wonderful. And I'm going to read Suzanne's bio so that you can learn a little bit more about those books that she's written, but also about everything that she's done. And I think a lot of people already know about Suzanne. She was not a medium to start out. She was working in the Navy. She worked for President Bush. She's worked for some very, very important people. In fact, she was flying over New York the day that 9/11 happened and had to turn around with the Joint Chiefs of Staff to go back to the Pentagon that had also been bombed. She has done so much in her life, but her life completely changed when her stepdaughter transitioned, and she started down the road to becoming a medium. But I'm going to go ahead and read her bio. Suzanne Giesemann is an author and teacher of the Awakened Living. She has been included on the Watkins list of 100 spiritually influential living people, a former U.S. Navy commander and aide to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff with a master's degree in national security affairs. Today, she shares 21st century spirituality, merging the latest scientific understanding about consciousness with ancient spiritual wisdom. Her work provides stunning evidence of our essential interconnectedness. She teaches proven methods that anyone can use to connect with the many levels of our multidimensional reality. She has authored 15 books, 6 best-selling Hemi-Sync recordings, and YouTube videos reaching millions of viewers. She produces the Daily Way inspirational messages, the Awakened Way app, and hosts the top-ranking Messages of Hope podcast. She leads classes, workshops, retreats, and Awakened Way cruises, and serves as faculty with the Shift Network and Humanities team. Suzanne is known for her joyful, down-to-earth style of making deep spiritual concepts easy to understand. She laces her teaching with evidence-filled stories of the greater reality and practical tools that produce the personal experiences of our multidimensional nature. Her connection with those across the veil has been scientifically validated in laboratory test settings. Her messages bring hope and healing that go straight to the heart, You can learn more about her at www.suzannegiesemann.com. I will be putting that in the chat box. And without further ado, please join me and Irene in welcoming beautiful Suzanne Giesemann. Welcome, Suzanne.
Thank you, Irene and Elizabeth. I hope you all are still awake. That was a little wordy. You probably had heard before if you've attended any of the wonderful Helping Parents Heal conferences, and you know that I love to share stories of the evidence that our kids bring us from the other side, but I'm not going to be doing that this evening. I asked Spirit what they wanted me to do, and they said the parents want to connect with their own kids, and I know that's the truth. When my Susan passed, I can't imagine how I would have survived that if I hadn't known she still existed. That was just something in my heart that sent me looking for her. Started me meditating back in 2006. Every day when people didn't usually do that, we weren't talking about meditation as much as we do today. But I wasn't going to get up until I connected with her. I knew that the soul survives death. And I know there's a part of you that knows it as well. So perhaps you've taken classes in mediumship. Perhaps you've learned from some of the wonderful teachers that Helping Parents Heal brings in basic tools about how to connect. Tonight, I want to share with you some techniques that I shared in my current class with the Shift Network. We have module 3 tomorrow, one every week. I shared it last week. And as I said to the students in that class, what I'm going to share with you is a game changer when it comes to connecting with your kids. And it was brand new. First time I taught it last week. Why? Because it's a technique that I've been using that has become so second nature to me that I didn't realize I was doing it. And so I never made it super clear. And I made it super clear last week, and there were so many light bulbs going off in people's heads. So hopefully I built up a little bit of excitement because you're going to get to try what I'm going to teach you. And some of you will feel the effects right away. Others, at least you now have another tool for your toolkit for how to make the connection yourself with your loved ones. As Elizabeth said, I didn't know there was a greater reality for most of my life at all until Susan passed. I had no idea I was going to be a medium. This is like the cosmic joke to me. The people who knew me before that I'm now doing the work I am, but it's clearly part of my path. And I'm grateful that my background lends credibility to this, because I guarantee you the greater reality is real. You already know this in your heart, but I'm telling you, your children are still part of your lives. They are with us. They're with you now. They love that you're part of this group. They're taking credit for nudging you to be here this evening. So just a quick review before I get into these specific techniques of how to make a basic connection, what we really need to connect with our own loved ones. You're going to see me do what it just happened here. My guides I always sense them up here. They grab me when I'm teaching and they tell me to throw something in that I was about to miss, or they change a word I'm saying. And they just wanted me to remind you right now, I can't guarantee anyone you're going to make a connection tonight or tomorrow night or next week. Every one of us is on our own unique path. It could take years, or it could take days, or you could have a breakthrough today. We just don't know, but it's part of your path to trust the process and remain committed to working on yourself, to raising your consciousness that we'll talk about tonight, and to never ignoring that knowing in you that because you're a soul here and now, you too can connect with your loved one. It's not everybody's calling to be a medium, not at all, but everybody has a soul. We are souls, and that's how we make the connection, soul to soul. So the basic connection starts, I have it lined out with 5 little steps. Number 1, affirm your belief. Every time I sit to do a reading for someone else, I go through in my mind a series of phrases to remind me and get me out of the Suzanne story. State your name, the Catherine story, the Maggie story, whoever you are. So get your story out of the way and say, I know I am a soul. I know my loved one is still here. I know that by shifting to higher consciousness, I can connect with them. These phrases, even if you're not quite sure yet, by stating them as affirmations, they will become your reality. So you clear the ego out of the way and you start shifting to this inner knowing with a few affirmations to strengthen your belief. If you don't believe something's possible, it won't happen. I call this the traffic light analogy. You have to give the green light to those in spirit to connect. So, oh, I don't think this is going to work. I've been doing this every day. It's not working. I don't have what it takes. That's a red light to the spirit world. And then, well, Suzanne says we can all do this, so I'll try. That's a yellow light. Versus, I know my child is still here. I'm here for you. Here's all my love. Let's give it another go. And if it doesn't happen today, I'll be back tomorrow. Here we go. That's a green light. Okay. So affirm your belief. Number 2, set your intention. Now, clearly this group's intention is going to be, I want to connect with my child. But sometimes you might just want to ask a question of those in the spirit world. Different intention, different channel on the spectrum of consciousness that you want to shift to. Everything has a unique vibration. This human waking consciousness is the physical human reality channel, as I call it. To connect with our kids, we go to the afterlife channel where your kids reside. To connect with guides, that's a different channel. Look how I'm making a motion like pressing a remote control. When you just make this little shift, hold in your mind the channel you're going to, and then shift the channel. I literally say shift, and we'll talk later with this new game changer how to do that shift. So affirm your belief, set your clear intention, shift the channel, then merge with your loved one. I invite them to step closer. They actually exist outside of space and time in their new non-physical form. But to say step closer, really, we could say turn up your light or merge with me or here we go. Some little trigger that says, okay, let's really put our focus on each other now so that I can feel you, sense you, maybe even see you, hear you. And then the 5th is you just experience what happens. We'll talk a little later as we go along, ways to make that experience more vivid for you. So affirm your beliefs, set the intention, shift the channel, invite them to merge with you with lots of love and experience. That experience state is so important to simply listen and do your best not to try to make the connection. So try not to try, a little paradoxical there. There's a real difference between expecting this merging to take place. Notice how I'm just relaxed. I'm waiting. I'm receptive and open versus, where are you? Come on, come on. You know, you tense up, you cut off this beautiful love you've built up by getting needy. I sure understand that neediness. Sometimes we desperately want to hear from our loved ones. Be aware of what energy you're giving them to work with. Trying, need, desperation, frustration, very human. This is soul-to-soul communication. So notice it, set it aside, and go back to being open and receptive and trusting. So on to this new concept of how you can help yourself sense your loved one better. When Susan passed, I had 0 spiritual tools or understanding, raised with no religion, no spirituality. I dealt with my grief by shoving it down or shaking or crying. I didn't know what to do with it. In meditation this past week, I was shown by my guides how the same thing was true when I was the aide to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. I was shown how much fear was involved in that job. You know, I was confident in my position. I'm a Navy camp commander. I had that part down, the confidence. But inside, there was a part of me that was always saying, what if? What if I screw up? What if I don't have what I need? What if I make him look foolish? What if I fail? All those what ifs that are very common to human nature. And Spirit then, in answer to these memories in meditation right here last week, said to me, the challenge was, you never went outside the body. This was key. Now, I'm not talking about out-of-body travel or out-of-body experiences, astral travel, as many of us who go down these rabbit holes when we go on the spiritual path learn about. What Spirit was talking about when they said you never went outside the body is that we are not only the bodies. I hope you're coming to know that. We are ultimately, at the most essential level, consciousness from which these bodies arise. That's really deep and a whole other subject. But consciousness, our consciousness achieves various states, such as right now, you're in normal waking consciousness, but you would understand the altered state of dreaming, right? That's a different state of consciousness. After we leave the body, we still have and are consciousness expressing itself through the story of us. So your kids are still conscious beings, although no longer in a body. That consciousness can visit with them, but it doesn't have to take place from the sensation of you still being in the body. What am I getting at? I can see a lot of you on my screen right now. I'd love you to point and show me where consciousness resides in your body. I'm shifting my view so I can see this. Point and show me. I'm looking at you. Where does consciousness reside in your body? Oh, look at that. Okay. All right. You guys are more advanced than most of the students when I do this in a weekend class. I see a lot of you pointing at your heart. Many times people will go like this. And I saw some of you go like this because you know that consciousness is not just in the body, it's everywhere. We as spirit beings here and now do exist in the entire sea of consciousness, but our focus while in a body remains usually within the body, held there almost magnetically by the magnetic attraction of our physical senses. I don't really mean like a magnet. It's just this, that we're so enamored with perceiving the world through our physical senses that we feel that we are stuck in our bodies. And most people, those not on the spiritual path, when you ask them to point where their consciousness is, they go here. Why? Because our visual input is coming in through the eyes. Our hearing, of course, is coming in through the ears, taste through here, smell through here, and it's all seeming to be perceived here. However, that's just a habit. We as consciousness, as souls, can move our awareness and perceive input, experiences from different locations. So those of you who said your consciousness is here, I wonder how that has changed things for you. Because right now, I'd love all of you to become aware of looking out through your eyes. Look around the room. Feels like you as consciousness are behind your eyes. But now travel as if you're this little orb behind your eyes. Put all your consciousness, your sense of I am behind your eyes, and allow it to sink down through the throat, down here. You're traveling, and now it's resting in the heart area. Allow yourself to perceive as if you're perceiving from the heart. The most amazing thing happens when you realize there are 3 different levels of this heart I'm going to focus on tonight. We have the physical heart that beats. Then we have the heart that most people think of when we say, get out of the head and into the heart. That's the emotional heart. That's the one that breaks. That's the one that hurts when you grieve. That's the one that shuts down when you're sad. It's also the one that opens when you feel connected to the rest of the world. That's not the heart where I want you to settle consciousness. There is a deeper heart that we call the spiritual heart. So other people might call it different things. We can also, so that we don't relate it to emotions, call it the universal core of you and me and everyone. When you rest your heart here, this part of you doesn't open and close, doesn't shut down, doesn't even expand. It is always tuned in to all that is. Can you see right away the benefit of moving awareness and resting in awareness in the universal core of you? The beautiful thing about this is from this universal core, you can combine the clairs that mediums talk about: seeing, feeling, sensing, hearing. All of that flows together when awareness is here, much more so than when it's behind your eyes. So move awareness back down to the heart and look at something across the room for you. Notice how almost immediately awareness pops back up into the head. This is very subtle, and you can play with this all week after this session tonight. But now I'd like you to drift back down into the heart and hold it there as you merge with whatever you were looking at before. Now you're not just seeing that object. I'm looking at a chair. I am one with that chair. Resting awareness in the spiritual heart, the universal core, allows you to have clairsentience and clairvoyance at the same time. How does this help you when you connect with your child? You'll know what they're feeling, and you might see images that they give you at the same time. You may hear their thoughts and know things about them that just come in claircognizantly. All of the clairs merge here. It's a state of flow and a sense of connection that is missing when your habitual place is right here. So this is only part of what I wanted to share with you, because now we're going to get to the game changer I talked about. That first one is a game changer for mediums, because you understand suddenly why you are perceiving feelings, hearing, and seeing at the same time. My guides just interrupted me. They wanted me to teach you a wonderful little trick. It's why I popped out of my chair at the last minute while Elizabeth was reading my bio, because I forgot my prop. She said, it was when Elizabeth said she brings joy and simple analogies to her teaching, and all of a sudden it was like, uh-oh, forgot my prop. Here is a wonderful technique when you're talking in meditation to your guides or your loved one, and you want to have a little fun. You hold out your hand and you say, put something meaningful in my hand. Your eyes are closed, but you say, put something meaningful in my hand. And the more you do this, the more clearly an image will pop in your mind, in your hand. And you'll know it's not your imagination because it's fresh, unexpected, and sometimes you won't even know why you're seeing that image. So you ask, what's the meaning in that? And you listen. This is outstanding training in just noticing, listening, flowing, not thinking, being present, interacting, and engaging spirit. So here I was a few months ago, morning meditation with my guides. I was prompted, probably by them because they had this great lesson to share, to say, put something in my hand that's helpful. Are you ready for what appeared in my mind's eye, not actually in my hand like I'm about to show you now? You ready? You can never take yourselves too seriously. This is what happened. A roll of toilet paper pops into my hand. And I'm like, really? Okay, so now's when you ask the question, why did you show me a roll of toilet paper? And what followed was so profound compared to the roll of toilet paper that, again, this is when you know you're not making it up. Spirit said, all of you humans are like this. You have this form to which you give all importance, but the outer form cannot exist without the core. And that core may appear to be empty, but it is actually filled with potential from which any form can arise. So if you need a reminder when you sink down into the universal core of you, think toilet paper or roll of paper towels, the core. This is the same in every one of us, the core. And it's the same in your child. This part that never changes. The rest is the story, right? So when you can train yourself to go to that place that never changes just by dropping into this silent, beautiful, filled with potential of connection space in you and sit as that spiritual heart in homage to Elizabeth Boisson. The French word for heart is cœur, with the root word core. The French knew the heart of all of us is our very core. Rest in the heart of you. Do this throughout the day. When you go for walks, practice what's in my book, The Awakened Way, a practice called ocean breathing, where you're breathing from the universal heart, the spiritual core, not the part that breaks and grieves, but this part that never changes. Your breath goes out and merges, connected with everything, and the in-breath comes back and brings with it information about everything around you. This practice will make you so receptive to your kids when they're trying to talk to you that you'll pick up on what they're sharing with you. I practiced this flowing from the universal core while on a bike ride last week. First, I saw a squirrel, and I noticed that I just saw it with consciousness here. That's a squirrel. And then I heard, now sense the squirrel from the universal core. I moved awareness down here and I observed the squirrel. I saw it and I became like the squirrel in that moment. I felt the joy in the way it was jumping around. I felt its sprightliness. I merged with it without even knowing. This can become second nature with you, to flow with all that is, to feel that sense of connection, to come to know that your kids share the same core as you, and you're now in every moment of your waking day practicing what it's like to merge in awareness with another being of light. So here's the I hope some of this is a game changer for you already, to realize how malleable, how free you are as consciousness that's not stuck here. So my guides have given me in the past this analogy of being like, and consciousness being like an elevator in a shaft. And many times my meditations begin with, imagine yourself in a shaft of white light that grounds you into the center of the earth. If you use this as an analogy of an elevator shaft, then the elevator is mostly resting here. We've learned to move the elevator here, but bring into awareness that most humans energetically are connecting with the elevator in the basement. We're really identifying more with the lower floors, identifying with our physical urges, our fears, our interactions with others. We move up here, and this is where we really connect with the soul. When we're in our spiritual center behind the eyes, now we're getting insights. Now I'm talking about the energy centers, right? The basement are the first three chakras, the heart, the center of us, and all that is. This is the node in the entire web of being that connects us to all beings, right? Here is communication, here is insights, and many of you know about the crown chakra. So when my guide said to me that I never went outside the body, before I learned all of this, before I started connecting with Susan and my guides, they meant my consciousness was always on the lower floors. It eventually got up here, and when I started practicing mediumship, I was here. But the moment that changed everything for me, this was my aha last week, was when I was speaking at a conference in North Carolina with an organization that no longer exists. And one of the leaders of that group took me aside and he said, I have some teaching for you. He said, you need to break through what for you has become like a glass ceiling and go higher than the crown chakra. You need to move your consciousness, raise your consciousness even higher. And now as I lift my hand up, I'd like all of you to imagine raising your consciousness just beyond your fingertips, as high as you can reach. When you do that, now you are moving consciousness beyond the body, but it's still connected within the body. You're still in the shaft of light that's forming the body. You're not going anywhere. You're changing perspectives. You're shifting your point of view. You're moving consciousness to a higher channel, but you're doing it consciously. My guides even gave me a message about it. I believe I posted it as a Daily Way message, but it was on that moment, on that day when they said you never went outside the body. Here's what they said. If you have my free Awaken Way app, you can find this again on there in just the last week or so. Spirit said, they say no man is an island, and this is true. As long as you retain awareness solely within the body, you will feel alone and may fail to see how connected you are to all that is. But you can swim away from the island body using awareness and free will. In other words, you have to make the choice to make this shift I'm talking about. Looking back at the island, you realize you're still here, and you begin to see other islands, an analogy for connecting with kids and guides. It is all about perspective. Get off of the island from time to time and see how this changes things for you. Consciousness is malleable. Stretch a bit, why don't you? You are so very loved. So in that hotel where the conference was held years ago, and this mentor of mine said, close your eyes a minute, now go higher. He said, you're almost there, go a little higher. You're almost there. He could see my aura. He could see the changes that were taking place. I couldn't see it, but oh my God, I felt it. And all with just the use of free will and this simple movement, which I'll guide you through in just a minute here. It took me days to come back down. Now, I'd been working at this connecting for years at that point. I already was a medium. It wasn't uncomfortable. It was exciting. I was connecting with my guides at a level I never had before. My readings skyrocketed. So this is the potential that's here for you. But let's just close our eyes now, and I'm going to guide you through it. All right? Just take a nice, relaxing breath. In my book, The Awakened Way, I talk about the vagus nerve breath, where you breathe in slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale just as slowly to 6, 2, 3, relaxing, 4, relaxing even more, 5, and 6. Now, with the intention of moving consciousness, find your consciousness located now, most likely behind the head. Let's slowly drop down behind the throat, past the sternum down to the center of your chest. Here you are resting in the universal core, but you never leave this place. As my guides showed me, you can be like leaving a strand of silk behind, and now rise back up, connected to the core, always connected to the core, which is connected into the earth to ground you. You're not going anywhere. You're just going to have a higher experience. Keep moving back up past the eyes, back up outside the skull, and now go higher, higher, higher. I want you to even say those words. Higher, higher, higher. Now, hopefully you're beyond your fingers' reach and just hover there. Look back at your body. I hear you. Right now you're saying, I'm imagining this. Yes. How else does consciousness perceive anything but through imaging it? You're having the experience of looking back at your body from this higher perspective. It's real. Your consciousness is actually having the perspective of having a body at all times. The body is not as real as consciousness is. Consciousness never dies. So just remain up here. Stay up here. This is the soul having this experience. This is not your body. Look around from up here. Do you see stars? Do you see orbs? What do you perceive from up here? I would like you to, using that strand that's connecting you to the universal core and always connected to the emotional heart, from this highest perspective right now, to send out an invitation to your child to meet you here later tonight or tomorrow when you're not tired, when you're fresh, when you're ready to do this experience from a beautiful, undistracted, expanded state of consciousness. Send a wave of gratitude for having learned this technique. And it's probably a good idea to drift back down now from that higher place, back into the body. You could settle in the heart if you'd like and just open your eyes. Merge with me from the heart, not from the head. It'll be very interesting for you to see how that changes things for you, to go higher, higher, higher. I've been teaching with my Bless Me method for years to shift and to go higher, but never so specific as actually moving consciousness outside the body and perceiving from outside the body. However, that strand that connects you to the universal core is what will allow you to still feel, perceive, and appreciate bodily sensations for the information they'll be able to convey to you from your children. All right. Hope you find that helpful. Let me see if I missed anything in my notes. I simply want to just share with you that when you get to that state of experiencing after making the shift, it's like, I love this Navy ship analogy. It's like being a radar on a Navy ship. And you are passively scanning the field of awareness for anything that stands out, anything that arises in awareness. If it's your normal thoughts, if it's doubts, notice it, let it go. Just go back to being open and receptive. The moment you feel a presence that feels interesting, loving, beneficial, may even feel like your child, now you engage it. Hello, what do you have to share with me? And start that conversation. After each thing that's shared, you can go back to scanning, or you can just remain in the flow. So that is just a real basic yet high level bit of teaching I wanted to share with you. This morning, was it this morning? I got another message from Spirit that's very relevant to what we just went through. And let me read it to you. You do not realize you can move awareness outside of the body, but of course, what do you think happens when you dream? Do you not at times experience your dreams as another being? Yes, you say, but that is my imagination. No, dear one, that is you as awareness. You are consciousness flowing. Life expresses through you in its limitless forms and through our children in their form. For a while, you are consciousness being you and your story. You wish to connect with loved ones who have passed. Expand as consciousness beyond the body. Move awareness far higher and meet in a special state and place intended for this sacred purpose of consciousness coming to know itself as love through eternal bonds. So there we go. I hope that's helpful. And it does leave us about 15 minutes. If anybody has any questions about that or anything else, I would love to take those and let my guides help me answer.
That's wonderful. It was really an exciting experience to be able to be going out of our bodies. And I saw that everyone was enjoying themselves. If you have questions, please write them in the chat box and we'll ask Suzanne. And again, I feel very fortunate that I did take that mediumship class, which was very basic at the very beginning, but it was the Bless Me method. And now obviously things are evolving and it's getting even more exciting to be a part of this. Galen has a question. She's saying, thank you. Thank you for taking us to the ninth chakra. Okay, that's a good idea. Yes, exactly. Susan Schneider is saying, I'd like to know if you recommend a specific type of meditation in order to connect. Do you have something that you would like to share?
Two of them. And one Elizabeth has mentioned, and it's my Bless Me method. It's in my classes. It's free on YouTube. 7 Steps to Connecting with Higher Consciousness. It's detailed in my book, The Awakened Way. Very, very proven, simple method for going from normal waking consciousness to the optimal state for connecting with loved ones who have passed and with guides. And that one usually can last anywhere from 5 minutes to however long you want to stay in meditation. If you just have a few minutes, do my Sip of the Divine. You can look it up under that name as well. SIP, S-I-P, stands for sit in. It's a 3-minute meditation. That's why the YouTube video about it is also called No More Meditation Excuses. Because if you can't take 3 minutes every day to sit quietly and learn to discern what arises in awareness, then you're making a cup of coffee for 3 minutes higher than your own commitment to your spiritual path. So yeah, that's what it takes, is commitment and a daily acknowledgement that we're more than these bodies and that connection is possible.
Beautiful. Diane Lees is saying, thank you, Suzanne. That was totally different than anything I've ever tried in the past. I think that probably goes for all of us. Maggie is saying, do you think our soul heart has an age? Is it connected to our earth age or to our child's age?
Okay, if by soul heart you mean this universal core, there's no age, there's no story, there is just being, consciousness. It is just a state of being that doesn't age, doesn't change, is always connected to all that is. The stories of each of us, the stories that through which we have our experiences, are part of our energetic field that arises from the universal core. Our soul would be like the next level. It does not age, but it can take on through our stories, through our form, without a form across the veil, any age it likes. So for example, my Susan was 6 months pregnant when she passed. Her son showed up as a toddler sucking his thumb the very first time we met with the medium. It was a little boy, just like she was going to have, but he wasn't technically a toddler. When we cross the veil, how's he going to show up? Even though it's been years later, probably as a little baby boy, so that we'll recognize him. Same with your kids. They'll show up so you recognize them, and then you can all choose what age you want to be.
Wonderful. Amy's saying, I love SIP, Sip of the Divine. Thank you. That was different and helpful. And Marilyn is saying, I skipped over you, Marilyn. Every time I listen to something Suzanne teaches, I learn something new. So grateful. Lisa's saying, thank you, Suzanne. Mimi is saying, sometimes it's hard to believe that Cody shows himself so often, but I have to remind myself that I do believe he is here with me. He comes to me with many dimes. I love him so much. So, obviously, our kids show themselves in so many different ways through so many different signs.
I want to make a comment on that if I could, Elizabeth. This needing to remind ourselves that they're here, even though we may get signs or we may feel their presence. I've come to know that is just part of the left hemisphere of the brain's programming. I've been working as a professional medium since 2009, and I still have to say, I can't believe this is real. It's ridiculous. And I just notice the left brain and say, thank you very much for that. Go sit in the corner, because there is no doubt in my soul and in my conscious awareness, this is real. Yet that programming is part of the old part of our brain that may always be there. So I'm grateful that, we at least have the free will to choose to remind ourselves. That's why I started with, before you make the connection, affirm your belief to set that left brain stuff aside.
Beautiful. So, Shagan is saying that was beautiful, Suzanne, or that was lovely, Suzanne. Brenda's saying, are new souls created, or were they all created at the same time? Since that is, let's see, that is became. I'm not sure what she's saying here, but I guess what she's asking is if we were all created at the same time.
Yeah, this is a tricky one that could get very deep metaphysically. If I were channeling my guides, I'm sure they'd say it better. We can merge with them a little bit here and see how they want me to put it right now. To use the term old soul and new soul is a concession to our world of time and space and how we talk about age. But we exist beyond space and time as souls. And that's why our children and we, when we pass, can choose to be whatever age we want to be. We use the term old soul to refer to somebody who's wise beyond their years. They must have been around many, many times to have been such a bright light. And oh, that's a new soul because they're making silly, foolish choices. That's a concession to our humanness. But in reality, all there is consciousness beyond time, where there is no time, that is having experiences here. That's the best I can say for you right now.
Thank you. I've heard that some of the people that seem the most difficult in this lifetime are our biggest teachers, and they were actually supposed to come and be teaching us some very important things in this lifetime. So I think that kind of goes along with that. Eric is saying, I just spoke with a friend who had 3 children pass in miscarriages. I told him he could reach out to his children. Can you validate that?
Absolutely. When I'm doing a reading, I can sense miscarried or aborted souls. They feel the same to me as beautiful sparkly lights over where I normally sense children. If I don't sense them, other loved ones who come in spirit, they'll make this little baby motion to me. And then when I don't feel a distinct personality because that soul didn't live a life here with a story and gain a personality, I know that we're talking to a soul that wasn't born yet. And we can still ask them, what purpose did you not incarnating serve? Why did you choose these parents? And get answers for them because they are sentient beings as souls. It's cool, huh?
Yes. And I know that Chelsea helps me enormously, even though she was only here for 2 days. And she was the first one to meet Morgan when he transitions, grabbed his hand and helped him to hug me when he transitioned. So I know that they're very powerful and probably as powerful as our other children who transition. I think it's hard to understand. It's hard to wrap our heads around, I think.
Because it's that we're all souls, and the soul, it has limitless power, and that's what we're tapping into. We think that the human being is the one with the power, but our true power arises from our true nature.
Yes, exactly. Meg is saying, and this is kind of a really deep question as well. These questions are very deep. How can I reconcile my soul plan with free will?
Oh, okay, great. So I'm being shown a map. Remember maps before we had Google Maps, right? The one spread out on the table. And you're here, and you want to get to this destination. This is your soul's plan. And there are a couple exit ramps along the way where you might get off. Your free will says, oh, I think I'm just going to take this side road for a while here and see what happens. Then you have guides and your higher self that says, not so far off the path. Let's get back on the main soul's plan. Then your free will says, oh, that looks interesting. I'm going to go check that out. And you make a choice that takes you off the path again. And you get nudged back on the path. So we all come here to accomplish major milestones, to work on certain traits, to have the full experience of what this incarnation has to offer us. But along the way, because of free will, that's the wild card. That's what adds interest and challenges and opportunities to this path that is designed as in the big picture, but not down to the smallest details.
It's wonderful. I want to go back to what Galen just said about the ninth chakra. Do you have any name for this space that is above us?
I've been calling it the eighth chakra, but see, there we go again. It's Spirit saying you humans love to give numbers and levels to everything when it's really just a continuum of consciousness, which is why they just say higher, 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 just go beyond your fingertips. Why do you have to label it?
Okay, on your fingertips, that's what we'll call it. That's wonderful. Eric is also saying, it seems difficult to get started with all of this. Is the best way, and I guess that you've already kind of answered this, through meditation. I think that that's the way that you started mostly was through meditation.
Repeat the very first part of it. I was distracted by one of the chat things there.
Eric is saying in the chat that it seems difficult to get started along this path and to be able to start connecting with our children.
Absolutely putting time aside to step outside your story, be silent, and set the goal of connecting with higher consciousness. I realized that what got me where I am today was I had one single focus every day for years. That was connect with Susan. And anything that wasn't Susan, if it wasn't helpful, I set it aside and I went right back to Susan. This was practice in focus while in an expanded state of consciousness. But meanwhile, here's Susan holding back, she told me years later, because if I had sensed her right away, I would not have had all these other adventures in consciousness that led me to coming to know my guides and learn how to channel and expand my clairvoyance, clairsentience, all of those things that happen. So when I say, keep your focus on your loved one until something helpful comes along, for sure you want to engage that. If you sense Jesus, which is very possible, you wouldn't say, sorry, that's not my child, go away. No, you engage. If you sense an angel or someone that feels like a guide or any benevolent presence, we're going to engage that. Then the next time you meditate, go back to focusing on your child again. Have that single-minded focus, maintain that to achieve your goal, and then you'll have all kinds of new goals.
Suzanne, I don't know if you see that people are talking about Wolf's Message. Do you want to talk about the film a little bit?
I want to talk about it. I hope you all have read my book, Wolf's Message. Just before coming on the air tonight, I got to watch a rough cut of the first half of a beautiful documentary being made about Wolf's Message right now. And Jim Spruill, Shining Light Dad of Dakota, is producing this film and working with a professional team. It is phenomenal. Absolutely theater level professionalism. It's going to be shown at film festivals and special screenings all over the country, and hopefully ultimately in some great streaming platforms. But if you're on my email list, which you can go get on by being on my website, you will be the first to know when it's available for viewing. It's a life-changing story for sure.
Yes, and we just want to say how much we love Beth and Mike Pasakarnis as well, and Wolf for bringing all of this to us through you, through telling his story. They came on to Helping Parents Heal with Suzanne and Ty and told about the making of that beautiful book. And It's actually available on our YouTube channel if anyone would like to go back and take a look. It's pretty amazing. But if you haven't read the book Wolf's Message, you need to read it, because this new movie is going to be coming out, this documentary. And if you've missed reading it, then it'll be too bad, because Suzanne has an incredible writing style as well.
Yeah, I just add here, I've really learned from those across the veil that our prayers are felt. They really make a difference. Today, Beth, Wolf's stepmother, is being prepared for a bone marrow transplant, going through chemo. This is probably the hardest day for her body and her spirit to go through. So if we could all send prayers of strength and healing to her, I know she'll feel it. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. We will. All of us, let's hold Beth Passakarnis in the highest light possible and see healing for her. And I know that Wolf is watching over her as well. And thank you for saying that, Suzanne. And let's see. So we have Brenda saying loved Wolf's message as well. Let's see. Julie is saying, are you familiar with the nonverbal spellers who are teaching about their telepathy amongst each other and the other side now that they are able to communicate? I'd love for you to write a book on it. I've never heard of this spell.
I am familiar with it, but there are people making documentaries about it and podcasts about it. KY. If you search for autism and Kai Dickens, that's it. Thank you. Incredible evidence that we are souls now. These children with autism are communicating without words, without sight, and it's very clear that they're just using another form of communication, just like mediums do, other than using our physical senses, because we don't need these.
Well, I just want to say that we have two twins in Helping Parents Heal, one who passed from drowning, and the other twin who has autism, who didn't even realize that his brother was actually gone, in one sense, and his mom would pass their bedroom door and hear them playing together. So I think that there is an incredible telepathy that exists, and that these children who are autistic, who have autism frequently, have incredible gifts. And so thank you for talking about that. We just have maybe one more minute. I would love for you to just say something to everyone about the upcoming holidays and how they can.
You know, what I like to envision the fact that our loved ones are still right here, much like the fact that here we are in our physical form, yet we know there are TV signals, radio signals, cell phone signals all around us right now, but our brain doesn't allow us to perceive those. And that's a good thing. It would be chaos. But our loved ones are simply, like I said, on a different channel, but they're right here. They're aware of us. I just did a reading today and I said, give me a current event about your loved one. And I said, your mother says you had a sneezing fit earlier today, at least 3 in a row. And he said 5 sneezes in a row. Simple little evidence of knowing what's going on in your life. So picture yourself like the whole family sitting on the couch, only some of you are in spirit, but don't you sit on the couch sometimes and some of you are reading, some of you are watching TV, maybe grandma's over here knitting. You're not always interacting with each other. But if somebody speaks up and says, oh, look at that funny thing on the screen, suddenly all 5 of you are focused. Or somebody says, oh, look what I just read here. You're suddenly all interacting. This is what it's like for our kids across the veil. When you speak to them, when you think of them, even you don't have to speak, that gets their attention. They immediately notice it. Many times when you think of them, it's because they called out to you, but you just didn't hear it. So the holidays, we're thinking of our loved ones so frequently, they're actually more near during the holidays than normal times. In awareness, they're always right here, but their attention is more focused on us. They put down the book and they're focused on you metaphorically. So I know we miss them more because we have traditions that include the physical presence, but they will tell you they feel your love and they want you to remember the good times, the happy times, and create new ones by talking to them lovingly in acknowledgement that they're still moving forward with you.
Beautiful. And they are all going to be spending the holidays with you. They are going to be enjoying it when you raise a glass to them. They're going to be enjoying it when you have an ornament for your children. They see all of it and they high five each other every single time that we smile. So thank you so much, Suzanne, for being on here with us. Irene, did you have anything that you would like to say as well?
Yes, thank you. And it was wonderful to have you here this evening.
It was.
You're welcome. And I better put my prop back before my husband gets mad, right?
And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the evening. We're going to go ahead and ask you to unmute and say thank you to Suzanne and wish you a wonderful rest of the evening. So go ahead and unmute if you'd like.
Suzanne.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. You're the
Thank
best.
you so much,
Thank you, everybody.
Love you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
That was great.
It was great.
Thank you.
Susan.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Elizabeth, will there be recording?
Thank you.
There will be a recording. We'll talk to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.